This is Barbara Ann Rosenberg, your roving reporter with travel and table tips. And I think you ought to know, it's been so hot here in Philadelphia this summer. I ought to take you someplace that will give you the illusion of being cool. It is the Canadian Rockies that where we're headed now. And we took a trip on the Rocky Mountaineer Rail Tours, or with the Rocky Mountain Rail Tours, from Vancouver to Lake Louise. Now you are going to see some scenery that I consider, and I'm going to use a word that I didn't think I would ever use because every kid in town uses it all the time, awesome. But the scenery you are about to see, the Fraser River is interesting, but my word, those Canadian Rockies are, there's no other word for it, awesome. Come and take a peek with me, and you'll be glad you did. All right, this is right in the heart of downtown Vancouver, and you're looking at the wonderful Vancouver Art Gallery, which was the Supreme Court building, I think it was. And it's a marvelous collection, very handsome building, and right smack in the middle of downtown. There's Eaton's, which is the famous department store over there, and then directly opposite that is a Canadian Pacific hotel, the Hotel Vancouver. I don't know if you can see it, but it has a great copper roof, and it's a real landmark in the city. It's all been renovated, and it's very, very pretty inside. But in the meantime, you can see what downtown Vancouver looks like. It's busy. People are very smartly dressed, and it's a wonderful city. And we're here to start out on a Canadian rail tour trip, Canadian Railways tour, to the Canadian Rockies. We'll stay here in the city for a couple of days, and then we'll head up to the Rockies. Come along with us. Here. Well, we're on the Rocky Mountaineer, the Rocky Mountain Rail Tour, and we're right now socked in. We're in the Fraser River Valley before we go up into the mountains. Right now the mountains are all covered with clouds, but you can see this great big wide fertile, this river that makes for this very fertile valley. Lots of greenery here. Lots of rocks too. Oh, here we are. We've got a little bit open, and maybe you can see some of the mountains behind the clouds. But it'll open up sooner or later, we hope. And, little bits of the mountains. And we're going up into the mountains after we stop at Kamloops tonight. I have no idea what's going on at Kamloops, but we'll see what it is. I understand that we're kind of on the flats between here and Kamloops, and then tomorrow we will be in an observation car and look out all the way at the mountains. In the meantime, I'm enjoying this river valley kind of scenery and all the greenery. If it isn't going to pour down rain on us, every 10 minutes, that seems to me, the weather changes here. We had a wonderful day in Vancouver, and it went from bright sun to lots and lots of rain, and I guess somebody's getting a lot of rain now. And here we have a handsome train manager. Is that what your job is?
That's correct. My name is Václav Safarik. I'm a train manager for Rocky Mountain Rail Tour.
That doesn't sound Canadian too much.
Well, I'm Canadian. I'm proud to be Canadian, but I'm original from Europe, from Czechoslovakia.
Okay.
What else would you like to know?
What else would I like to know? Shall I ask right here?
You
And
can-
you'll tell everybody in Philadelphia what you're doing? How did you get here and start with Rocky Mountain Rail Tours?
Well, from my previous experience, I was working in Europe on a train, so many years traveling all over Europe, and then I moved to Canada, and it's in a blood. So I said, well, I have to look something around here, and I found Rocky Mountain Rail Tour, and it's really, really enjoying for me because we are dealing with many people from different countries.
There are people from all around the world come on this.
That's
trip,
correct. The majority of people are from England, British, Germany, New Zealand, Australia, and
That's a
US.
long way. And here you get a sense of how close we are to the Rockies, not the really major ones that we're going to see, the really high ones that we're going to see tomorrow. That is, we hope we're going to see tomorrow. If that lovely train manager prays a lot tonight, but you see how the formations are, how low the clouds are in between the hills as well as hanging over them. And this broad river valley with so much fertile land. They must grow a lot of wheat and vegetables up here, I would guess. I don't know. It's kind of early in the spring, but not much is showing above the ground. Just, ooh, look at lots of cows over there. Dairy land and houses, and you get a little sense of what this northwestern part of Canada is all about. Green barns. We have red barns. Huh. That's unusual. Now you see the dramatic heights of the coastal range. I guess this is still the coastal range. We'll head up into the Rockies tomorrow. You see how swift the river is in here. And there are occasionally some rocks in the river, and the water goes rushing by on either side. It's very picturesque, and it is starting to break up the cloud cover. So maybe, ooh, I'm seeing way ahead to the, you can't see it, to the engine of the train. And we're coming up on the narrowing of the gorge. So you're going to see Hell's Gate, as it's called, one of the most exciting areas here in the coastal range. And lots of water comes pouring over, more than, they tell me, more than at Niagara Falls. So this is very sharp and very sheer. The rock is sheer, so it had to have been worn in a fairly short time as it came down, because when it trickles over, it comes, the rocks are kind of smooth. But this is turbulent, and you see how much water motion there is. And yet there are trees growing all the way up through the rock, all the way up these mountains. Pretty chilly outside right now. You see there are other rail tracks on the other side. One of them is Canadian Pacific, and the other is Canadian Railways. I don't know. I guess they had a race to see who was going to get through here the fastest. Turbulent beyond belief as it comes through here. We've now come off the river and into, or onto, alongside of Kamloops Lake. And we're going to go another 20 miles or so and get into the town of Kamloops, which had been described to me kind of as cowboy country. Well, it's pretty country. We'll see if we see any cowboys. Last night, we spent the night in this town of I bet you've never been here, maybe even known anyone who's been here. The town is Kamloops, Kamloops. It's a cowboy town in the very western part of British Columbia. See the mountains behind us, the coastal range? And lo and behold, we're headed for the Rockies. We're about to climb this Mountain Rail Tours bus to get on the train, and that will take us in a glass-top train up into the Canadian Rockies to Banff, and I hear eventually we'll go to Lake Louise, and I hear this is sensational scenery. Come with us and find out. We're in Craig Alecky. We're going right by where the last spike of the railroad was driven as it came cross country. And lots of train enthusiasts here, and they're going to wave at us, and we're going to wave at them. And nebulous dream of reality became a reality.
3,000 miles of steel, rail pushed across vast prairies, cleft mountain passes.
Look at this.
Canyons, and bridged with 1,000 streams. Here on November 7th, 1885, a plain iron spike. That's where I run in pride, right?
This is our resident historian, whose name is Gareth?
Gareth, that is correct.
How long have you been doing this, Gareth?
Actually, just about a year now.
And
Fairly new to the trade.
New to the trade. What is it that made you come out here to this gorgeous part of the world?
To actually work on the train, or just simply, well, I think it probably has to go back to when I was a kid, and we did this with my family in an American car with vinyl seats on an August day. And the comfort of dome coach, I think this is the best way to see BC in Alberta. Great way to show it off.
This is a great way to do anything, I would think.
And the food's not bad either.
Food's great. There, we have a dining room down below here, below this dome car, and we'll show that to you in a while. Well, we are now in Alberta. We are in the Rocky Mountains. Isn't that strange? We're on Rocky Mountain time. And that mountain you see behind us is a Rocky Mountain, a Canadian Rocky. We are in Banff, in the fabled town of Banff, wonderful ski resort. This is spring, and the weather is simply beautiful. And we're lucky because evidently it's been raining like the dickens here. But we're here now, the weather's lovely, going on toward evening, so you won't see the sun at this point. We've seen elk right in the town. We've seen black bear. We've seen mountain goat. And this is truly the high Rockies. Well, we're not terribly high, but we're high enough so you certainly get the feeling you're in the mountains. And we're at lovely lodge here, the Buffalo Mountain Lodge, and it's as mountain lodgy as you could want any place to be, including our own wood-burning fireplace inside. Of course, we're outside on the porch now. As you can plainly see, there's all kinds of ways of getting warm at Buffalo Mountain Lodge, and the fireplace here is one of them. And, well, cheers. Well, you saw the view from the little front porch of our, not exactly a bungalow, our accommodation here at Buffalo Mountain Lodge. And this is the view from the front door. And let's walk down and see if we get to see any wildlife. Last night, as we were walking out, we saw a mother elk just eating her lunch, eating some of the flowers, just like the deer do at home, come right up to your front door. So we'll see what we see. If we don't see one here, I'm sure we will strolling through town. And this little building behind me that says cilantro, which is either something you love or you hate, you know, that green herb, mostly, well, they use it in Mexican and they use it in Far Eastern food, Thai mostly, I guess, is the most superb little restaurant. Very, I would say California, except that would insult the British Columbians. They have their own take on West Coast food, and it was really great. As a matter of fact, it was so great, and they're not open for breakfast. We're going to go downtown to a sister restaurant called Coyote and see what they have. We'll check it out and let you know. All right, we're in the inside now, not our room, but in the main lobby of the lodge at Buffalo Mountain Lodge. Here, and I made a mistake earlier, I said something about being in British Columbia. I forgot we turned our time back, and we're in Alberta on Mountain Time. And there, in case you were concerned about where the name came from, Buffalo Mountain Lodge, there is one of the original residents, I guess. And we're having just a glorious time here. It's beautiful outside. It's interesting inside. You saw our room. It's a perfect place to be. And here you are in beautiful downtown Banff, in Alberta province of Canada, the Canadian Rockies. Guess what? That's what you're seeing straight ahead of you and all around you. Rockies, Rocky Mountains, high ones, and very beautiful ones. This is in June. Hate to tell you, this is our summer. It was been 98 or 97 when we left home, and now it's beginning to warm up here. Everybody's been freezing. But here it is on an absolutely glorious, practically cloudless day. So let's just enjoy it together. There's a Canadian store where they sell the things that Canada's famous for. Maple syrup, of course. Apple spice pancake mix, that sounds good. There are, look at this maple syrup, a whole gallon of it. And I don't know, what else? Tea? There's no bears here. What else do you have for sale?
Salmon?
Smoked salmon. Where is that?
It's right behind you.
Oh, good. This is the kind they call Indian candy. It's sweet and it's very, very smoky. It's something you chew on, sort of like salmon jerky. And this is the people on the sidewalk. Just in case you don't think everything's up to date in Banff, it is. They too have their coffee bars where people hang out and have their coffee right out on the sidewalk in the little bit of sun that we have today. I gather people were really shivering in their boots until just recently. We are standing outside the Grizzly restaurant, Grizzly House. They serve caribou, they serve buffalo, and this is the first place I've seen that has any semblance of, then they also say on this that they have over 100 wines. They're not about to make you leave here without ha. And then this is called fondues and hot rocks. And if a lady drops a morsel in the pot, she surrenders a kiss to the men at the table. If a man loses a piece of what he's doing in the fondue pot, he has to buy a round of drinks. Somehow it doesn't seem fair, does it? Now, you see what I mean about, well, a licensed restaurant, that means it's licensed to serve drinks, and every place here is not. Steak and cheese fondue, as I was talking about, then it says buffalo and caribou. Now, I dare you to read that next line down. I wonder what that language it is. I suspect it's the native Canadian, I don't know whether they're Inuit or what the tribe is, but that's probably some kind of, I don't know, want to say hieroglyphics. I guess that's not right. And this is a lovely shop right here on the main street. What's the name of it? knick-knick. I've heard of knick-knacks, but never knick-knicks. In any event, this is a nice place to come if you're interested in bringing back souvenirs. You can see all kinds of things, many made by the local Indians for souvenirs and just for people to wear. They've got some eagle feather headdresses over there. I don't think I'm going to take one of those home, but maybe one of these carvings.
Eigentlich war es ein bisschen teuer mit dem Taxi falls Sie Abend hier zubringen wollten, wenn sich 4 Leute zusammentun, ist aber 3 geht. Aber dann haben wir Leute gefragt um 6 und eine um halb 9.
Ja, halt jetzt am Anfang dazu gekommen. Machen uns auf den Weg. Jo, gut, bis dann.
And all the wood was one claw that didn't need in the end. That's a whole picture.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, here we are at the fabled Chateau Lake Louise, in Lake Louise, in Alberta, in Canada. And as you can see, it is not fabled for nothing. It is exquisite. As the kids said, and I said earlier, awesome. But I think it ought to be required viewing for everybody before they learn to say, before they ever open their mouths to say the word awesome again. This is truly awesome. Surrounded as we are by the high Canadian Rockies, snow-capped in June, not just capped, but lots of snow. There's a whole snow bowl, and it's not at all cold now. It's June, it's evening. During the day we walk around with t-shirts or short-sleeved shirts, and at night put on a jacket or a light sweater. It's simply, and the air is so clear, it is simply magnificent. I'm running out of superlatives. And if you think we had a view of the hotel before, now we have a view of Lake Louise. And now you know why this hotel is here and why everybody flocks here. I mean, there are views of the mountains and there are views of all kinds of things, but how many places have you ever in your life seen a view of the mountains and the lake all in one fell swoop? Awesome. There's no other word for it. Here we are at the edge of Lake Louise, again in this daunting, awesome scenery. The pines all look like they were called to attention by the supreme generalissimo of the world, and everyone is standing so straight they can't lean to the right or the left. They're just standing up straight. And to see this in front of that glacier and surrounded by the sharp peaks of the Rockies is, for want of a better word, again, awesome. Incredible. People come here, just stand at the edge of the lake and marvel. Never, even in the Alps, have I seen a sight that is more beautiful than this. And just in case you ever had a question about whether you were in the mountains, here's this guy who decided to ply his trade right straight from Switzerland, complete with his lederhosen, and he yodels every now and then, and he plays that horn, that long horn, and it just finishes the picture. The song called Heilig, I think, is holy. It takes some power to move the amount of air that's in that pipe. Wow. See. And this is Moraine Lake, Morain. Sometimes called a dark and gloomy lake, not at all to me. Quite smashing with this background of glacier snow. I guess it's glacier snow. This is June, people in Philadelphia. I want you to know. And we are high in the Rockies, about 1,000 feet higher than in Lake Louise. We in British Columbia or in Alberta here? We're still in Alberta. And my word, it's worth the trip to stand here, just to stand here, even if you don't do another thing. There's lots of RVs out here, and there's a wonderful hostel, I hear, with a great kitchen. And as you're looking at the lake, you're going to say, well, there's not much of it, this Lake Moraine. Well, it's still very low because all the snow runoff hasn't happened yet. It's only June after all. There's still lots more melting snow to come down, and by the end of the summer I hear this lake is completely full. So folks, set your sights on Alberta in the Canadian Rockies. Come out here, maybe make a stop at Deer Lodge, which is just so charming, old, and sort of a big log cabin. Got all kinds of things to see, and I hope you see them all. Now, you've seen the Canadian Rockies in all their glory, and I mean glory. Well, that's another word I could use, I guess. Glorious, as well as awesome. Lake Louise is positively a jewel. I'm sure you've heard it from other people, but now you've had a chance to see it. See it yourself. Now, the next thing you're going to want to do, I'm sure, is to fly to Vancouver, a wonderful city in the far northwest of Canada, and then take that Rocky Mountain Rail Tours train from Vancouver to Banff. And you will, it's something you'll remember the rest of your life. This is Barbara Ann Rosenberg, your roving reporter. See you next time.